Hi, friends. So something's been hitting me these last few days, and really, honestly, these last few months that I just wanted to take the opportunity to share a little bit about it. So thanks for taking the time to listen. Um, what's been hitting me is kind of this recurring theme of how our God is not an accidental God, and it really started to hit me strongly earlier this week when I started back at CrossFit. I started back, and it just kind of hit me as I was going through my workout, and I'm going through this intense physical experience that I hadn't been back to in about 2 months because of a gig. Um, I feel like I have this flash like playing through my head of how things happen to us with moments of intensity, moments of fire, and here I went from a gig, a 2.5 month gig, that could be related to going through hell, and then signed up for the intensity of nuclear coaching. So the hells of coaching, to then jumping back into physical hell, and I'm seeing that repeated theme of what we're able to learn from in going through that intensity, alongside of just how not accidental he is in that entire experience, in each fashion. And then I saw this parallel of actually having flashes happening when I was at a conference with my coach just recently in Chicago, and it hit me. Yeah, you really need to share. And so what happened when I was in Chicago, in the similar fashion of what happened to me when I was doing this workout, was we were challenged on the first day. At one point, Danny asked us this question of what needs to change in you, and we were given some time to think about it. And as I processed that answer, I feel like I had this like phrase play that said, thinking like I have to figure it all out, instead of just realizing that he's been showing me all along, you can trust me. And as I'm realizing that, then they take a moment where we're able to think to ourselves and process, and they play a song. And as the song is playing, I then see right in front of me Moses, like right in front of my eyes. Moses is standing with his staff up on a rock, and he's standing in front of the Red Sea, and the sea's in front of him, and the waters start to part, and the waters start receding on either side. And as those seas are parting in front of me, playing in front of my eyes, like a memory, or like a movie, like playing in front of my head, I then see all of the Red Seas that he has parted in my life in the last 6 months or so. And he shows me with each one, remember this? You can trust me. Remember this? You can trust me. Remember this? You can trust me. And some of the flashes that are going past are, one, I have a 2.5 month gig where it's the biggest gig at that level that I've worked on, and I remember being in pre-production and feeling like I was so overwhelmed, that either one, I was gonna get fired, or two, I was gonna fail. And that was the first time in my life I ever felt that feeling. And processing through that, I remember getting to a place where I was like, okay, obviously this is what I'm feeling, and all I know that I can do is show up tomorrow and do the best that I can and have the best attitude that I can. And the rest is out of my hands. If I get fired, I know I did my best, and I know I had a good attitude. And so I literally had to just get to this place where I feel like I just fell back into his arms and said, all right, God, I trust you. No matter what happens, I trust you. And so I did. I just showed up every day, did the best that I could, and tried to have the best attitude that I could. And yeah, a lot of fires happened. But we made it to the end. I made it to the end. And I honestly can't believe that I did. And you know what? I didn't do it on my own. He surely showed up every single day and walked me through some of the hardest challenges of my career. And I couldn't have done it without him. I feel like I have so many testimonials of just how he showed up and did something so big. That's some stories for another time. But that was one flash where he was like, remember this, you can trust me. The second flash was actually signing up for nuclear coaching. This was prior to doing a 2.5-month gig. I had just gotten back from Israel, and we were presented with the opportunity to sign up for what's called nuclear coaching with our coach, which is a lot bigger investment. It's a year long, and it's intense. And I remember feeling like, yeah, I want to do that. And I feel like he's nudging me to do so. But I was at the place where, okay, this is prior to the 2.5-month gig. I knew that I had come out of a lot of debt, but I didn't have a lot of savings built up yet. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, if I want to do this, but if I do this, I'm literally going to go back into debt and about the amount of significance that I just paid off. And so I feel like my mind was at this crossroads. And recognizing that was happening, I just remember looking to God and just saying, I want to do this. And if you want me to do this, I know that you'll meet me here. And I didn't know what to do other than to just put it before him. And I remember putting a hold on the offer, saying, is there an ability where I can think about this and figure out if I can make it happen? And so I did that, and then it was a week and a half later, I got this 2.5-month gig. And what's interesting about that is, so then at the next event, not knowing that they were going to offer again to give us a second chance to sign up for nuclear coaching, they offered it again. And by that time, I had enough income from that 2.5-month gig come in where I could sign up. It literally took all the money that I had made so far from the gig to sign up for nuclear coaching. But I knew that's what I was supposed to do. And I remember walking to the back of the room and telling another friend, I feel like I want to vomit. I feel like I want to vomit. That's how much it was turning up inside of me. It was not a free from stress, free from fear, free from what am I doing feeling. It was, I want to do this. Let me just do it. Let me run back there and do it. And put all that other stuff aside. And I remember too, when I was talking to that friend, they said, Jen, you have literally gone through the hells of your gig, and he has shown you how you can trust him. You are perfectly positioned to jump from that hell to the hells of coaching or the fires of coaching. He's going to be, if he can be with you there, he's going to be with you here. And I just remember looking at her being like, thank you. I needed to hear that. And, obviously I went and signed up, but, part of the big reason why I knew I had to sign up was I didn't ever want to look back and regret not taking the opportunity that I had right in front of me to learn more from somebody who was literally living the life that I wanted from the perspective of the walk with their God that I wanted. I wanted to learn from somebody that was literally living a life that truly radically loved their God in the way that I loved my God. And I saw that in my coach, and I wanted to learn more from somebody like that. And I had a chance to do so. I never wanted to look back and say, I had that chance to learn from somebody that loved God like I do. And so that really honestly is why I knew I had to do it, even though it didn't make sense, in our world today of that's a big investment when you don't have a lot of money. But that was another flash that I feel like, just played right in front of me in that moment where he just said, remember that? You can trust me. And I'll show you, how he's proven that, since, because that was obviously months ago now. And then the third flash that played was wanting to go to Israel this last March. And, this is a story that some of you have already heard, but wanting to go to Israel and even, at that time, having even less progress and money and reading through the email of all the details of what it was going to take to go. And I remember somebody in my life looking at me and be like, Jen, how are you going to pay for that? And I remember looking at them and just said, I don't know. All I know is if I look at everything that God has done in my life in the last 8 months, all I know how to do is to run full steam ahead at any fear or obstacle. And it wasn't more than 2 days, and I got a call for a gig that 6-day gig then paid for my entire trip to Israel. So that flash played, and he showed me again in that flash, remember that, you can trust me. And then the fourth flash that happened was kind of just a summary of 8 or 9 months of last year, where I feel like he was shedding off things that had, prior to that point in my life, made me feel completely trapped. I had just been feeling like I was in a place where my heart was so trapped that I would not, my heart in certain areas would not be able to move forward. And that was just going to be my life in that area for the rest of my life. I was trapped by my past, and he showed me how actually in that 8 or 9 months, I got set free from all of that. I busted through what had been holding me back and what I felt trapped by, and I felt completely free of it because of busting through it for the first time in my life. And it was stuff that I thought I would literally carry to my grave and not be able to process through, get through and get on the other side of. And so again, he just reminded me, Jen, if I can do that, if we can do that, you can trust me. So here's, all these flashes playing as I'm, listening to this song and this phrase of thinking I have to figure it all out, yet he's showing me, you can trust me. And these flashes are happening. He showed me the flashes of all the red seas in my life, the things that felt impossible. And he continued to whisper, come on, Jen, I've been showing you all along, you can trust me. And then he has continued to just confirm that message and that story, so many times where I'm just like, wow, he is not an accidental God. He is so present in our lives, and I think he is so present because of the intensity that he loves us. That night at that event in Chicago, the topic, so after I went through that whole session and I'm seeing Moses standing in front of me, like in this little movie's playing in front of my eyes, and I'm seeing the waters parting as not all my fears, but some of them were fears, but my obstacles had been parted, and he's reminding me that I can trust him. That night, the topic was the story of Moses and Exodus and what happened, and in reference to his boldness. So just repeat it again, that confirmation of, Jen, this story, pay attention to this story. And in signing up for Nuclear Coaching, we had to set specific goals. So I said, I'll show you how interesting it is, or explain how interesting it is that and pivotal it was to sign up for that, for what he wanted to continue to show me. Because had I not signed up for Nuclear Coaching, I wouldn't have set a certain goal. And the goal that I set, and things wouldn't have already happened that have happened. And I know that we're only getting started because it goes till next March. But that night, obviously we talked about Moses. Well, I had set a goal to study his voice. And the reason that I set that goal was because I knew that I really wanted to help people. And that's the big dream that I have. That's beyond anything else that is, in my life. I just want to help people. But I want to help people where it really matters. I want to help people who are hurting, who are broken, and who are lonely. And how do I do that and affect where it really matters unless I really know the healer, unless I really know my God? Because I can't help people, but he can. He can do the things that I can't. So I needed to know him more. So that honestly to me was my biggest goal and why. And so I had set this goal that I wanted to get to a certain point in studying his voice in the year's time. And so I'd broken it down, knew how far I'd have to get by certain points. And I was really, really excited to do a certain way, because when we were in Israel, we learned a way that our coach taught us to do it, which I was really excited about because it spoke into the personality that I have of just fun, and allowed me to use markers and colors, and it brought it all to life in a way that to me wasn't boring. So I was excited about it too. And so I had been starting to study his voice. And so here I am. I've been, making progress. I've been studying his voice, reading through the Bible, and I had just a few weeks prior read through the story of Moses in Exodus. So then there's a repeat. He's just continuing to confirm this story in my mind. And then I go to LA with some friends for a weekend, and in the midst of hanging out with my friends, we end up talking about Shabbat, and I'm able, as my friend is like, well, wait, what is Shabbat? I was able to answer what Shabbat was because of being in Israel and learning about it, and was then able to explain what happened with Moses and the plagues, and how our God freed the Israelites from Egypt, and was able to talk about all the plagues, and was able to dive into the details of that story and share about it for the first time in my life. Because prior to that point, I had grown up around the Bible. I grew up going to church every Sunday, Wednesday, loving youth group and going to every single event. But I was also embarrassed about the fact that if anybody asked me about any of the stories, I couldn't explain them. I could never remember. I struggled with reading comprehension, and because of that, I could never remember which person went to which story, let alone when did it happen or what were the details around that event. I mean, I could tell you maybe the big highlights of, okay, there was a guy named Noah, and he had an ark, and he had animals, and there was a flood, and then there was a rainbow, and Adam and Eve were in the garden. That's about the context of the depth of things that I could give you outside of my experience with my God. And that was super deep, and I could tell you my story for days, but telling the stories of the Bible was a challenge for me. Until I went to Israel, because then once I was in Israel, being a visual learner, suddenly then I'm standing in the places where these stories happen, and we're going in order, and we're learning about them as I'm able to touch the land. I'm able to touch the trees, the flowers, and see how they feel. I'm able to smell the air. I'm able to see what they see as they were going through a specific emotion or a challenge or facing a certain fear. I'm able to see everything that they saw in those moments as we read these stories. And they had a personal experience, I'm now having a personal experience in those places. I'm able to eat the food that they ate. I'm able to see things actually happening and being revealed today that are in the Bible still. It just brought it to life in a whole new way and made those stories sink in, and I was actually able to remember them coming home, to the point that now, after being home from Israel, after going through my Red Seas and having those waters parted, after being at a place where he's reminding me that I can trust him, he then walks me through signing up for nuclear coaching, where I make the decision to study his voice more as my biggest goal, which then makes these stories repeat again. And I'm then able to explain to my friend what happened in Exodus. I would not have been able to do that otherwise. So it was the first time in my life I'd been able to do that. It was a huge breakthrough for me. But I don't just care about what he's doing in my life. I care about what he's doing in yours. And I care about you. What are your Red Seas? What are the things that you feel like you can't get past? Is it your past? Last fall, I was at a conference, another one, and an interesting thing happened where I honestly feel like God speaks to us where we're at. And I think he speaks to us in a way that speaks to us. And I'm a visual learner, and now looking back, noticing that I learn the best through seeing something. I think he was trying to show me stuff at different points in my life. And so it reminded me of, I remember a moment last fall where I was at a conference and, I'm at a place where I'm breaking through a lot of things I felt trapped by. And we were staying at a hotel that was really worn down, and it stood out because we never stay at hotels like that. The hotel was kind of falling apart and was in need of major repairs. And that's not normally the case. So again, it stood out. Well, so people had all these stories of different things they were experiencing as we stayed here. And so one of our stories, and the people I was rooming with, was in our bathroom. I happened to notice something happening over the course of 3 days. And it wasn't something that was shouting at me. It's like one of those things where you kind of notice it happening out of the corner of your eye, and you're like, well, that's interesting. That's kind of funny. Well, what happened was, so it was one of those kind of moments, and the first day, I remember looking in the bathtub in the shower, and I noticed on the spout, so not the shower head, but the spout below, the part that curves over and then the water comes out. Well, there was a rubber glove attached to the spout. The glove was sticking down, but it was attached here to the spout, and it was just kind of hanging there. And I was like, well, that's weird. What's that doing there? Was somebody cleaning? Is the spout broken? Was somebody doing something weird in here? I don't know. I remember commenting about it to my roommate and saying, well, yeah, that's kind of weird. But we didn't do anything about it. And funnily enough, funnily is not a word. Funnily enough, we didn't move it. We left it there. I think all of us thought, I don't want to touch that. Well, then the second day, because none of us touched it, I happened to notice at the end of the day, the glove was literally full of water. So maxed out, completely full, like an otter. You could squeeze a finger and it would explode. And so it was kind of comical, just sitting there completely ballooned out. And again, none of us touched it. Well, then the third day, I happened to look down and noticed, I'm not being overly wonder what's going to happen to this glove today. No, I just noticed out of the corner of my eye that this is happening and kind of chuckle at it. And I'm also kind of semi-creeped out by it. Well, the third day, I happened to notice that the glove was gone. And I look in the tub, and it's at the bottom, and it had completely burst and was empty and just sitting there in fragments, and all the water was everywhere. As I reflected back on that moment, months later, I remember with what I was going through and what I was battling through emotionally, getting free from the stuff that I had felt trapped by and shutting that stuff off and getting to a place where I finally felt free. I remember feeling like I heard his voice, kind of just like a friend would kind of like lean up behind you and whisper something subtle. I feel like I remember hearing him say, as I'm like looking down at that glove and looking back on that moment of that glove sitting there in broken fragments, completely burst and just sitting there dead on the ground. I remember feeling like I could hear him kind of subtly whispering behind my ear, but are you going to pick it up again? Are you going to pick up your past again? Or are you going to leave it there? Are you going to leave it there, or are you going to pick it up again? And that phrase has repeated, honestly, in my head at the moments where I've been tempted to pick it up again, when I've been tempted to think that past is who I am, or that past defines me. It doesn't define me. My God defines me. What he's doing in my life every day since, that's who I am. I'm a new creation every day. And my friend, leave your past behind you. He wants to make you completely new. And every single day, he wants to leave your crap behind. And so, it's interesting looking back and seeing how not accidental he is, but how intentional with us that he is. And I think it's honestly because of how much he loves us. He is so present in our lives and wants to show us how much we can trust him. And he speaks to us where we're at. I don't know where you're at, but it's not just my life that I want to help change. I want to help people around me. Like that's the biggest drive of my heart. And it'd be easy to say, oh, Jen's got this easy, awesome life now. She loves her life, and wouldn't it be nice to be her? My life's not easy. It's a choice every day to choose what my mindset is going to be. Am I going to stay stuck, or am I going to make a choice to go forward? Am I going to take the choice to reach out and grab a hold of the hand that God is reaching back to me, saying, come on, Jen, come with me. I have more to show you. And so, I shared with somebody recently that the thing that excites me most is when I get to see, sure, I've had awesome things happen in my life in these last few years. I've had awesome results in the last year and a half, and finding my coach in this community of people who are helping push me forward and holding me accountable to it and challenging my ways of thinking. And I recently shared that while I have awesome results and while no, everything's not easy, what matters to me most is when you get to see the impact that it's having on other people, and you get to see other people that you care about getting set free from stuff, finding hope, finding healing, working on their relationships and having changes happening in their families and their friends, and getting to see that happening around you, like that is so powerful. It becomes so much bigger because none of us can do it alone. I can't do it alone. I surely can't do it alone. And I don't want you to have to do it alone either, my friend. I had, I think 4 contractors that work with me come to this last event, and getting to see them have so much change happening in their lives since coming, having healing happening in their families, restoration happening, having multiple people paying off a lot of debt a lot faster than what they thought was possible, having them step up and become leaders and become advocates, even on our team, for caring about other people, for caring about clients, for caring about our coworkers, and honoring each other with their words, and just taking that extra time to do so. Like that alone could make me cry. Seeing another friend come who has the most amazing heart and a powerful story and who has big dreams to help people, seeing her come to her first event. And not only does she come, but she brings her husband and her son, and realizing that, you're helping also impact an entire family and the trajectory of changes that are going to come and happen in their life. And you're already starting to see them happening as we're at the event. And my friend, who's sitting in like 4 or 5 rows back, as our coach is talking about this amazing organization that helps rescue kids from the sex trade, who helps feed orphans around the world and build homes for the homeless around the world. Seeing her stand up as our coach is talking about that, in the middle of thousands of people, she stands up and is like, come on, everybody. This is amazing. You guys, come on. I remember looking over at her in that moment and thinking, I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you. She is standing up. She is rising up as a leader. And that's what we need. We need people who are not afraid. And even if you are afraid, that stand up anyways. And so when you get to see the impact that you're having on people around you, it's powerful. Another friend of mine just recently completed coming to events for a year, and even volunteered for the first time. And this is a friend who, was really struggling with life prior, didn't feel like she had any purpose, and just felt completely lost. And she, after coming for a year and then volunteering, recently said to me, Jen, you literally saved my life. I hope you know that. And she said that because I know that she was suicidal prior to coming. When you have that kind of impact on somebody, and it's not just me, it's my coach, it's the community of people that she's now around, and it's the truth of who she is finally sinking in, and the God that loves her sinking in. When you get to see the impact happening, that's the thing that matters to me most in my entire life. So when I say that I care about you, I want you to hear how much I mean it. Just today, I remembered another moment, and I'm going to kind of close things with this story and challenge you. But that story relates to a funny moment that happened, because sometimes I can be aloof, maybe that's the right word, which definitely is a part of my personality. But I was at an event, and remember I'm standing at an elevator waiting for the elevator to come, and I remember feeling like I was waiting forever, and then I noticed the button on the wall for the elevator to come, the light's off. I was like, well, that's weird. Maybe that's why the elevator hasn't come. So I go up to the button, and I push the button, and the light doesn't come on. I was like, well, that's funny. And so then I just stand there, really, really close to the button, and I just keep pushing it, thinking the light's gonna come on. And it doesn't come on, and I'm like, well, this is really weird. Why isn't this button working? No wonder the elevator's not coming. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I happen to look to the left and notice the elevator doors are open. The elevator had been sitting there waiting for me while I'm sitting there at the button going, hello, are you going to come? Are you going to come for me? And, thinking back on that moment today, and it's hit me a few times recently recalling it, I think he was telling something to me there with that experience and my own idiotness. I think he was, showing a more powerful point, and that point was, I think that's kind of how he operates with us. He literally is standing there waiting, saying, hey, I'm right here. I'm right here waiting for you. Are you going to hop on? Are you going to hop on? Come on, let's go. Let's go. So that's my challenge for you, my friend. What are your Red Seas? What are the challenges in front of you that you think you can't face? He is standing there waiting to come beside you and walk with you through those and get you to the other side. The question is, are you going to hop on? Are you going to choose to take his hand the hand that's showing you and trying to show you, you can trust him.